Greetings, everyone out there in TV land. It's Dr. Steve and Dr. Tim from the Ouch Doctors, and we're doing things a little bit differently today. Today is questions and answers, Q&A, your questions answered. We are really excited about being able to just be here for you, to be present, to be interactive, and to allow you to come into the comment section and ask any questions you might have about chronic pain, about mind-body medicine, or anything else that you think is of value. Why Dr. Tim and I are so darn good looking. Whatever it is, we're here to answer those questions for you. So this is your opportunity to make your voices heard and ask your questions, and we're ready to rock and roll. So we'll see you in a minute.
Hey there, Dr. Steve. And in answer to your first question, I have no idea why both of us are so darn good looking. I don't know. I think it's just clean living and good thinking, maybe. Anyway, but
Inner beauty radiating outwardly.
We are radiating. So yes, we are not here to give out any medical advice or tell you what to do or not do, or to prevent any disease or treat any disease. That's for your relationship with your doctors. But we are here to get the big picture out there about mind-body health, and specifically pain relief and its connection with anxiety and some other issues that are out there. So we're all about that. And so stick around for the very end, because it will introduce our free gift, which Dr. Steve will do later. So Dr. Steve, where am I right now?
Well, you know what? I wanted to also let everybody know, first of all, that if you're watching us on YouTube, there's a little red button in the right-hand corner there. We want you to push that button to become a member of our community. If you're not watching us on YouTube, just look up New Thinking About Old Pain on the YouTube search bar and pull us up, and then become part of that community, because it's a great place to find all of our prior episodes. And it's all in one place. It looks so pretty, so join us there. Other than that, we also want to reiterate that in all cases, we love your feedback and we love your questions. But today in particular, we've already got a few questions ready to go, and they've been asked of us over the last few days, and we're going to be addressing those. But it's not too late for you to get your questions in as well. So yes, we'll talk about the one big gift at the very end here, the one big tip, and our free gift. And other than that, I think we're going to jump in and try to answer some of these wonderful questions. And thanks to all of you who took the time to ask these questions. So, Dr. Tim, do you want to read the first one?
Yeah, let's. We're going to start off with.
I've got Jen here as my very first. Now, if you'd like, I could.
Why don't you crank out the first one there? So
absolutely. So
you want to put that right up on the screen? Go ahead.
Yeah, I've got it. So I don't know how to get it up on the screen, but Jen asks, how do you stop the physical pain and sabotage caused by emotional pain from your past? Like, how do you stop it so it can't keep creeping back in when those who have hurt you continue to do so, when they see you healing and rising above and out of your old self into your true self? That's an awesome and a complex question for us, as right out of the starting gate, right?
Very complex
question to me, because what it acknowledges and makes clear is something that a lot of people aren't aware of, which is the profound relationship between emotional and physical pain. It's inevitable that when we've experienced early trauma in our lives, that trauma starts to cause a recurrent emotional experience in the form of what we call trapped energy. Trapped energy is sort of an area within you. And if you ever stop and really pay attention to your emotional pain, you'll notice that it tends to reside in specific parts of your body. And if we're not really present to those areas, what happens is that emotional pain starts to morph into physical pain. And then we start to experience real legitimate physical conditions. For some people, very difficult chronic conditions like fibromyalgia or arthritis. And so the first step in this, or the first place I would want to go in this, in answering this question, is to say that the real work ultimately is going to have to go deeper than the physical pain. Even though we can probably do a lot with your physical pain, we want to dig a little more deeply, and we're not talking about therapy, analysis, laying down on a couch and telling your whole life story. We're talking about solution-oriented therapies that go directly to the place where the seed of that emotion lives, where those trapped energy patterns live. And if I were working with you, for example, my work as a hypnotherapist would be to put you into a calm, receptive state and guide you to a place where you are present to those deep emotions and to whatever historical experiences originally led to them. And then give you an opportunity to have your subconscious mind rewire itself, repattern itself so that it has a different interpretation of the experience that you had then. So Dr. Tim wants to contribute as well.
Yeah, awesome stuff there, Dr. Steve. What also comes to mind for Jen is Jen, even at the moment, is not feeling safe. And safety or feeling the lack of being safe leads to fear, anger, all kinds of negative emotions that are also correlated with chronic pain. So what also comes to mind is I would just recommend some journaling for Jen to really dial in and just not worry about what you're writing, just write. And that is very therapeutic. But I would also have an intention of what do I need to do or say or help I need to enlist to feel safe, because everybody deserves to feel safe. And I think chronic pain will persist until Jen feels safe.
And you could see in her question that that part of the issue is that the people who have hurt her, or some of the people who have hurt her in any event, seem to still be in her life, seem to still be having the ability to cause pain.
Right. So, and very often that's a family member. I don't know Jen's story, but what if it's a boss or a coworker or even a friend? You know, it's hard to get rid of friends. Things are more complicated and now in the age of COVID too. But what if it's your family? Do you throw your family away? These are, I think, really would be quite therapeutic to do some deep writing and thinking, and to rip up those papers and throw them away, or light a match to them, and really just pour out your emotion. That will be helpful.
That's powerful.
And at all times, be curious too.
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful. And what Dr. Tim just said about journaling and writing, and then putting them in a bowl and burning them, is a really therapeutic process, and it's metaphoric, but often metaphors have power. So that is a great idea. Another thing I would suggest is make a new goal for yourself that you're going to learn how to be, as you know the word, I'm going to say bulletproof. In other words, there are still going to be bullets flying for a while, and the ability to be safe is sometimes removing yourself from a situation. And as Dr. Tim said, sometimes it's a situation you can't completely remove yourself from. And in those cases, it's about becoming more resilient. So you've got some work to do there, Dr. Jen, and Dr. Tim and I are here to support you in that. But understand that there is help, there is hope, and that even when you're feeling really kind of up against it, that's where your support system comes in. Remember, none of us are as strong or as smart as all of us. And as our friend, my friend Jenny says, she says, you can't be your best self by yourself. So make sure you realize that, remember that, and continue to surround yourself, as I know you do, Jen, with remarkable people.
And let's look at Kathy's. I'm putting up Kathy's question right here. Dr. Steve, you want to run with that ball?
Sure. So Kathy is asking, what do you do when pain subsides and then it returns with a vengeance? How do you curtail the sensation in your nerves? For example, burning pain. She says like a sunburn type of a pain. Well, Dr. Tim, the first thing I would say to this is the quality of the pain, or the even in the intensity of the pain, has almost nothing to do with what the solution is, because the quality or the sensation itself is really just a function of the kinds of nerves that are receiving the initial signal, where they are, what their sensitivity is. So some kinds of pain are burning, some kinds of pain are more pressure. That has to do with whether or not these are type A fibers or type C fibers, things of that sort, which you have no control over. What you do have control over is what's going on at the level of interpretation of the pain. Now, one of the most important things I would say about this, Kathy, because I know your history and I understand that you've had some good work done, and a lot of that good work has helped you to allow pain to subside. And now you're having experiences where some of the pain is coming back. One of the most important things for you is to not use the return of pain as a reason to become discouraged. See, a lot of times Dr. Tim, yes.
I'm sorry, I don't want to interrupt, but a couple of things pop up. It's not just the quality of the nerves and everything that are involved that directly connect to the type of symptom, but it's also the pathways that have been etched and re-etched, the neuroplasticity of the situation too. But even before I go into that, what I want to say is if one's pain changes in significance or intensity or goes away and then comes back, I want to say congratulations, because you are healing. Because if you were not healing, that pain would stay exactly the same in the exact same place all the time.
And
so
the same quality of pain.
Healing right now with that changing. So that should give you hope. And I have yet to speak with someone or to coach someone who didn't have a change in symptoms that was dramatic like that, that was not well on the way to healing. So that is a very positive thing.
Thank you, Dr. Tim. It's a really, really important point that I didn't make. And in fact, in our days as chiropractors, we used to use the term retracing, which basically means that as you originally went from a healthy body to a body that was manifesting symptoms, you had to pass through certain places on the way there, right? And now you're passing back, like retracing your steps back toward health. And you may experience symptoms that existed at a point along the way years ago, decades ago, on your way back to health. So as Dr. Tim said, often a change of symptoms, any change, whether of quality or quantity, is an excellent sign.
Right. And it's so funny. I'm just thinking about this right now, because that word retracing back in the 80s and 90s was outrageous thought back then. And some people just didn't buy into that. But really, we didn't even know about neuroplasticity back then, the ability of the nervous system to change like plastic. But now it's like mainstream that's the way that the nervous system works. It's just so funny that only a few decades later, and we've learned so much.
Well, it's funny how you look at day-to-day experiences. How many of you have ever been out in the cold to the point where your fingers got completely numb and you were almost on the verge of frostbite? And then when they became numb, you didn't feel anything, right? And then when they started to thaw out, it hurt and it hurt and it hurt, got worse and worse before it got better. It is the way of the body. So this is a normal experience. But I think through the whole process, regardless of whether you acknowledge or believe that you're moving toward being healthier or not, you have to also realize that changes in symptoms, that the recurrence of symptoms is not a reason to now go back to old patterns of belief or old patterns of thinking, but rather to renew your sense of enthusiasm and your sense of courage and your sense of hope that you're going to continue doing what you need to do to get yourself healthy. And sometimes, a war is more than just one battle. So stay the course, stay positive. Don't let yourself be discouraged, because our bodies and our minds are constantly throwing up resistance, right? Resistance is a very real thing as well. So when I teach people about meditation and they begin to learn how to get calm and relaxed, they may start having moments of relaxation and calm, and then suddenly they experience tremendous agitation, more than they remember having had, because it's almost like their body doesn't want to let them go there. But if they stay with it, then we start to soften into the resistance and eventually move through the other side.
Dr. Steve, Pam here doesn't really have a question, but it's an awesome statement. I wanted you to comment on that.
Yeah, Pam, awesome. Believing healing is possible is the first step. So true, Pam. Thank you for that, because most people have been sold a bill of goods by the conventional medical establishment. We believe that all of our healing is nothing more than putting a pill down our throats, and that we have no internal inherent what's the word I'm looking for?
Ability to heal.
The power of our own. And right. So we need to really establish the idea that our belief system has a direct impact on our healing. Because if you don't believe it's possible, or if you have abdicated, that is given away your power by, listening to the doctor when he says you've only got 2 years to live. He can't possibly know that. She can't possibly know that. Nobody can know that. Dr. Court Davies, a friend of mine who is a cancer patient himself, is now 3+ years into a 3-year prognosis for dying of cancer. Now, I just went sailing with him. He also goes wakeboarding and biking, and he's living a very vibrant life because he refused to believe, as Pam says, you don't believe that you can't heal, because your belief will determine the outcome.
He's probably going to live longer than the doctor who gave him the diagnosis.
More than likely, that's right.
And one thing that came to mind about what Pam says right there is the power of, and it's one of the exercises of one of our OBTs that we've spoken about, our one big thing, is to set a healing intention. And it's not simply, it doesn't really work so well if you say to yourself, well, I want to be out of pain in 6 months or a year. A better thing is to frame it. How am I going to have more fun? What do I love in life right now? If I like to paddleboard, well, and I can't do it because I can't pick up my board and I can't put my board on my car, and it's just too much work and I'm not doing it. Well, what would get you excited? Well, I want to be paddleboarding 3 times a week by, a month from now or whatever it is. So frame your attention with some increased activity that you can work for and get excited about, see yourself doing, and that's a different way to believe in your body's ability to heal, and it will happen.
Absolutely, absolutely. I also want to point out one other part of the question that Kathy asked, and she was asking about, it wasn't so much the question, but she was adding to it and saying a lot of this for her, she believes, is stress related. Her mother-in-law passed recently. She has suddenly become the matriarch of the family. She's not feeling particularly equipped to hold that role. And so this is a very stressful experience for her. And again, remember your stress patterns, not unlike all of the other patterns we've discussed, are neuroplasticity. In other words, your nervous system has already determined how it's going to deal with stress. And for you, over time, their pattern of stress has become a very physical pattern. It's shown up in your physical body. And so we want to go back. We want to do perhaps a little bit more work, either using hypnosis or mindfulness, and dig a little bit deeper, and also help to shore up your ability to deal with stress in a more functional way so that it doesn't transfer itself into symptoms.
Right. And that's awesome. And one thing I'd like to say to Kathy too is, and we've alluded to this in our films that we've done, Dr. Steve, you and I, but I think one thing I've pondered about a lot recently is the definition of trauma. So I don't think that trauma is in the eye of the beholder. It's not just if you're a war veteran with PTSD, that is certainly trauma, or someone who's a victim of sexual abuse or mental or physical abuse in childhood. But it can be more subtle than that too. So there's a big spectrum of what trauma is, but to my mind, trauma is just stress in the past. And that can be a precursor for chronic pain later on, in addition to the stresses that we have today. Well, I don't have a job because of COVID, or I'm having to use my savings, or I don't have any savings, or I don't know where I'm financially stressed and I'm family stressed and I got to take care of my children. And now I've got to homeschool them. It's just almost overwhelming, the amount of stress that some people have right now, which also adds on and multiplies our present stress, leading to more chronic pain. So we just have to just be aware of all these, journal them, go back and listen to the OBTs that Dr. Steve and I have shared. Use 1 or 2 or 3 tools that make sense to you, and it will help.
I really like what you just said. Trauma is stress in the past. A stress of the past, brilliant. That's just such a really interesting thing. And then you talk about the stresses of the present. And again, the whole idea of a water glass filling and filling until it spills over. We really want to develop that model of understanding where we see that the stress of the past, the trauma that we've experienced, has our glasses already partially filled. And then we're filling them a little bit more with the stresses of the present. We're not operating appropriately with those stresses. And so we continue to fill it up. And what we need to learn how to do is how to do a little emptying of that. Journaling helps you to empty it. Deep breathing helps you to empty it. Having a better mindset or a better way of framing it helps you to empty it. And then doing some of the work that Dr. Tim and I do to help you dissipate the stress of the past, to break up those areas of trapped energy. Very, very important, very, very powerful.
And I see anxiety as stress about the future.
And there you go. Perfect.
So,
Tucker Bearden is with us today, and he says, this is awesome. Tucker Bearden, by the way, is awesome. He's one of the most remarkable speakers on the planet. One of the very few Zig Ziglar, there's a special term for it, but there are only a few of these people in the world who are certified as Zig Ziglar speakers, and Tucker is one of them. He's a pretty awesome guy and just a very inspiring guy, and it's a great pleasure to have you here, Tucker.
Super awesome. Steve, can you comment on Sean's comment here?
Hey, Sean, how you doing? So Sean says, I have difficulty getting people past addiction to listen to other options. I need to treat addiction to pain first before healing will occur. Boy, that is so brilliant. So yeah, this is the issue, is that most people are addicted to their pain, to their thinking, to their way of doing things, to their belief systems. Pain, addiction. And we usually use addiction in a very narrow sense. We say you're addicted to drugs or alcohol, but we're addicted to our pain and we're addicted to our suffering. And so a big part of what we try to do, and this is really an art more than a science, is to help people to reframe, meaning to change the meaning of the experience they're having, to shake them of their strongly held beliefs. Now understand, Sean, that you're up against an enormous burden, because when people are addicted to a point of view, it is not almost as if, it is exactly as if they are hypnotized. See, if I've got somebody who's hypnotized and I say they're stuck to the chair, and then I say, get up, they say, I can't. Now, all the evidence to the contrary doesn't matter to them, because their belief system is preventing them from getting up, and they're damned if they're going to change their belief system. So that's what you're up against. You're up against people who are hypnotized. And the way that we ultimately can, and the only way we can ultimately get people to embrace a new point of view or new tools or strategies, is to first kind of give them that psychic slap in the face, so to speak, whether it's with humor or with kind of insistence or whatever. One of the things Tony Robbins does is what's called the Dickens process, where you take somebody through looking at how their beliefs have affected them, how they affected them before, is like the ghost of Christmas past, how their beliefs are currently affecting them, and what do you think is going to happen if you keep those beliefs for the next 3 years, 4 years, 5 years? Where are you going to be 5 years from now? And I've seen people break down in tears when they finally come to grips with face-to-face with the complete untenability of a life lived with those beliefs. And only then, like you say, Sean, only then do you have a foot in the door to start crafting a new way of thinking. Yes, Dr. Tim.
Awesome. That gives me a tear in my eye hearing you, Dr. Steve. And also when I read Sean's statement here, I don't know, I just think forgiveness is appropriate here. Forgiveness for Sean herself, forgiveness for all those that have hurt us and maybe wronged us, forgiveness of everybody. And I think all healing has a root in forgiveness. And of course, the most important person to be forgiven is yourself. So I'm reminding you, so I'm reminding me too. So with that said, I think we're getting towards the end of it. There's a bunch of questions that we didn't get to, but Steve, tell me about tomorrow's show.
Yeah, before I do, let's you and I make a commitment to do this again. I think doing a Q&A session maybe every few weeks, or maybe once a month, we do a solid Q&A and we'll gather questions in the interim. I'm there if you're there. And if that's something that you guys out there would like to see happen, we'll be more than happy to do that. And then in the meantime, if you have any questions, feel free to write them in. And if we could squeeze them into any of our upcoming shows, even if it isn't a official Q&A, we'll certainly do that for you as well. So please, by all means, let's keep those questions coming. And
Dave,
what's that?
Why are you so good looking?
Oh, is that your question for me?
Yeah.
I'm still trying to work that one out, but I think Woody must have something to do with it.
Well said.
It's reflected love from my doggy. So listen, guys, for today, I have one big tip to share with you. It's an interesting thing I learned at the Landmark Forum years and years ago, and it's called choosing. So this is a fascinating idea. If you've got pain in a particular area of your body, What they recommend you do is that you choose the pain, as if you were saying, gee, I wish I could have some pain over here, even though you already do. Now, it seems very weird, but here's what happens. Two things cannot occupy the same space at the same time, right? You can't put two cups in the same space. You can't put two people in the same space. You can't put two of the same pain in the same space. And so if you choose to put pain in a place where pain already is, it often displaces the pain that was there. It's a weird thing. So you suddenly take on an empowering stance toward it. Try it. I've done it. It's been a really interesting experiment. I choose to have pain over here. And then you really try to make yourself have pain there, even though you already do. It's a little twisted, but it's really, really a powerful tool. Give it a try. In the meantime, tomorrow, here's what we're going to do. Tomorrow, we're going to talk about how to get yourself in action. You and I and Dr. Tim and all of us know that there are a lot of things you could be doing that you ain't doing. You know, perhaps it's exercise. Maybe it's changing your diet. Maybe it's doing some kind of a meditation every day. Maybe it's just shifting your thinking and doing it in a disciplined way. Whatever it is, you know there are a lot of things you could be doing that you're not yet doing. And that pulls us way back to the question, the core question of how do I get myself in action? How do I deliberately become the kind of person who will do the things that I say I'm going to do? And we've got a few things to say about that to help empower you so that what you know you want to do, you'll actually start to do. And that's our plan for tomorrow.
Dude, I can't wait for that. And don't forget to download your free Freedom from Pain kit at theouchdoctors.com. So with that said, Steve, I just have one question for you.
Yo.
Train your brain.
Lose your pain.